We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity. And today we're going to be going through Outliers because that's the topic area that Kenny chose. And then next after that, we're going to go ahead and blend in Ben. He wants to understand his dad better. Hmm. And then Luke, he wants to talk to Mary Jo. So hopefully she's going to be on. Um, do understand, Luke, that I can probably, as a woman whisperer, I can probably go ahead and articulate better why why she likes to hang out with me so much? You do understand that, right, or not?
I suppose, yeah.
You're not very convincing, even without facial expressions. Um, so, so if you understood that, you wouldn't be asking her, you'd be asking me why she does it.
Yeah, but I don't
I get it. You're really not interested in having and showing me that you're interested in me. You're interested in showing her that you're interested in her. So it's interesting. I did a podcast with her and Lou Constable. He's the one that um, has over 2,100 car videos. So he travels all around the country. People pay him to come out and video their car and put them on his YouTube channel. The guy's
How'd that
insane. What's that?
how'd that one work out?
Wasn't too bad because she was there. So he kept
Mhm.
talking to her versus Kenny and I. He did talk a little bit to Kenny. He definitely made sure that Kenny and Mary Jo were clear that Mark was selfish and only interested in himself,
Oh, nice.
which naturally I appreciated a lot. It's like, brings back so many fond memories of my brothers. Like, wow. So he's like a brother to me. And I was explaining to her the power of her and my combination, you know, and how she and I and her and I energies flow. And so I was explaining all of that to her and the science behind it. And she looked at me and she cocked her head to the left a little bit and smiled and she said, "So is that why Lou went ahead and berated you? Is that why he said what he did?" And I just laughed and I said, "Uh-huh." It's like, oh, I get it now. So it's really intriguing. Let's swing back to Kenny. I don't know. Rosanna, I think, has joined us. Um, she's late, but she's a woman, so it's okay. So is there anything that you wanted to accomplish today, Rosanna?
I think I'm on for listening today.
Okay. Yeah, there'll be a lot to listen to, let me tell you. Luke may have some questions for you. He won't have any questions for me, but he'll have questions for you. I'm sure that you'll
Oh,
articulate
okay.
them really well, and he'll be like, "Huh, I'm really glad I asked Aunt Rosanna that question because man, that was really interesting." Okay, so
Okay.
Kenny, why did you choose Outliers?
Um, in the book, it also talked about
And Kenny's referring to the book of Talking to Strangers by
yes.
Malcolm Gladwell, just to give you all context.
Um, it talks about the misjudgment of people and how the average, the majority of human beings have this default to truth. Like they want to believe that people are telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then there's this little, there's these few people, they call them, I don't know what they call those. You can call them outliers that they default to mistruth. They don't. There was something in their childhood, something that switched it to where they naturally or they automatically think people are bad, and they have to convince themselves otherwise. Whereas a normal human being, they rationalize a person's behavior in order for them to or see this person as honest.
Right.
And it said these few people are able to call out or share things that they see that normal human beings would not see because they deflect to truth. They want to believe that people are telling the truth.
Yep. I'm tracking everything. Haven't read the book, but I'm tracking it all. Yep. Burr. So your question is what?
I don't know that there's a question. I just think that that whole thing so far has just been like cheapers. That is strange. They did a study on judges' verdicts, and then they had AI judge the same people with the same facts. They couldn't have AI experience what the judge experienced in the courtroom, meeting the person, all these other feelings that the judge got from the courtroom. They couldn't do that, but overall, AI did a whole lot better in judging the person on if he would make another stupid decision like that.
Yeah. My brother Ken, it was just the coolest classic experience where you said something to him and I learned something from it. It was so cool because you said something to him and you said it with such a straight face and it was like sarcasm or something, and it turned out not being true, and he didn't trust you because of that.
The bear attack. Yeah, when I was attacked by a bear on in Colorado, my leg was all scraped up. I was bleeding all over. Yeah, I remember that one.
like
Man, that was terrible.
like and it was so classic.
Uh huh.
Like you just and he didn't trust you, because of that. And it's weird because then you said later, you said, well, I don't trust him either. So both of you aren't trusting each other. And I just like, that's it's just interesting. Like it, and so this is what's so interesting, especially in the Amish world. They want to meet you in person. Everybody does because they think
Right.
they can better judge me. And so I don't know if Ben probably remembers this. It was funnier than all get up. So we're meeting with a bunch of Chinese ladies, like weekly, and there were, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. Some
I
of them
remember that.
cute, and 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 one week we brought my dad, and he's old and he's hunched over, and sometimes drools, and some like he's not in the best physical shape, and we brought him, and there was a guy, and he wanted to meet me in person so he could tell if he could trust me. Like, I want to meet you because, and he just told me, just says, I want to meet you so I can tell. I said, really? So you think you can see? What people don't understand is being son of a pastor. It's like being the son of a politician. Like
Yeah.
you like, or an actor, so anyways, so Ben and I and my dad, we come in. It was really interesting because my dad's all kind of crunched up and everything, and kind of walking in as best as he can. He's kind of on his last legs, literally. And I open the door, and this cute girl comes out, and she looks at him, and it was so cool. From that point on, I started, kind of hunching over. Like it was almost like he was a baby. Like it was weird. Like how he captured her heart. And I thought women are just the coolest thing in the world. Like just man. Anyways, so we go and sit down. We sit down in Ben's, I don't know, maybe 15 years old or so. We sit down and my dad and Ben's really attentive, and this is probably going to help Ben, better understand his dad, that memory. And so Ben's really attentive to my dad. And hey, you need anything? Let me get some water and da da da. And and he's doing a great job with my dad. And my dad's cracking jokes and flirting with the young Chinese women. I'm like, really, Dad? Like, it's so cool. Like, they're laughing at what he's doing and saying. And I'm like, dude, that's some cool stuff. Like, the guy's, no, I think he might have been on hospice. Like, he's ready to die, but he's flirting with all these young Chinese women. I mean, it's just hilarious. And then this guy that came and wanted to see, me and be able to tell how real we were and how everything. And he says to me, he says, Mark, he's like, I'm really glad I met you. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I can tell you have a great relationship with your dad. I said, really? That's so awesome. Like, why do you say that? He says, I can tell based on how your son is interacting with your dad. You guys are an amazing family. And I said, yeah, I can see that totally. I said, I'm just curious, like, how do you know that and I'm saying this in front of everybody, like everybody's listening. And I'm like, how do you know that I'm just not gaming the system? Like, how do you know that, since we're with Chinese and I know the Chinese really, respect elders, how do you know that I'm just not, Ben's not just, gaming the system, gaming the system, everybody, dad is. Like, we're just showing respect for elders because the Chinese are going to trust me. How do you know we're not just setting this whole thing up to manipulate everybody? Like, I'm just curious, like, how do you know we're not doing that? He's just like, oh, oh, like, I don't even know what to say. Looks like Luke is either sleeping or dead.
I'm listening.
Or listening. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing here, Luke, that's got, like, is this what happens when you go on dates too? Because if it is, I can give you some tips. like when she's talking about herself or stories.
I was listening. That was a great story.
Right. I mean, and that's probably what she's thinking too. Is like,
That doesn't count, man. You have to show it. You have to.
I'm not with a bunch of women right
all
now,
up
so I
in there.
don't.
You can practice.
You can
I
practice.
don't need practice.
Trust me.
All right, because you're
I'm
so
pretty
good
sure
at this. Like you're
you
all
do.
over them.
You've
I
been
am.
Wow.
friend
I
zoned
can hear
by
you snoring.
you've been friend zoned by a police officer. You got some cowgirl that you've been friend zoned. Like, I'm pretty sure you need
I didn't
practice.
get friend zoned by her.
What's that?
I didn't get friend zoned by her. She wanted it. She just, I don't know, kind of a hoe.
I don't even know. I'm not even going to go there. Just not even going to go there. So, yeah, what Kenny's saying is just it is insane. So politicians and pastors, and actors, they all know how to go ahead and control their facial and their body language to go ahead and convey and control everything in person.
Right. And then
What about CPAs? Do
they don't even know how to control themselves when they're with women. Like,
no, they don't.
Like,
And
I'm
then
excited.
there's all these TV shows, all these TV shows that people watch, and where the actors are, flawless. And if they're happy, they reveal their happiness, and when they're angry, they reveal their angriness. They're angry, and it's easy to tell where people are at. And then people take that and say, okay, this is what a happy face looks like. This is what an angry face looks like. And if you're not showing that face and you're not happy or you're not angry.
See, this is what would be so cool to meet with Malcolm Gladwell and do a podcast with him and talk to him about, talking with strangers and Blink. You got to read Blink, because Blink is the total opposite of what you're saying right now. It's crazy.
Gotcha.
Blink, he proposes in Blink that there are sub emotions or feelings where you can instantly look at somebody and read them. I think what he would say is he'd say, well, those are I forget, like subatomic particles, like sub things. And so it's like a poker player, a good poker player. Every poker player has a tell. And so
he called them mismatches. It's like if a person is feeling one way, but they're portraying something totally different.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that. Yeah. So I would go ahead and get over to Ben, because Ben would, I think, enjoy listening to the book, not reading the book, but listening to the book. I don't know. Luke, do you do any reading or not so much?
I do more listening to books while I work.
Okay. So you could get that over to both of them,
and
Rosanna and I, and anyone else too. Because, like Kenny and I, when we went and did this Texas trip together, I don't know about Kenny, but there are so many very, 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 like it's almost burned into my brain, different aspects of that trip. Same thing when I went with Ben on vacation with him. And so again, I don't know, these guys are younger, so, I don't know that they have as good as memory as I do. Ben, you remember that, the vacation you and I went on?
Yes.
What's that? Like, if you had to highlight one of the highlights of that trip, what would you say it was?
Food, go-karting.
Food and go-karting. Holy cow. We go-karted the whole day. It was crazy. And what do you think the highlight of the trip was for me?
Conversations.
That was right up there. There's another part, one that you probably share with everybody. So there's this roller coaster that's not a roller coaster. This is awesome. This is a great story. There's this roller coaster. It's not a roller coaster. You go down, and we're going down at night. And I mean, you're going fast, and you're a little concerned that you're going to fly off the thing. Well, you're really concerned. So you have brakes. Well, Ben went down first, and I heard some screaming. And then I went down after him. And I'm like, I'm not going to apply any brakes. Like, they have nets if you fly off, I'm sure, it's down a mountain. So I get down at the bottom. He's like, man, Dad, that was insane. That was crazy. He's like I only braked 3 times going down. I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, how many times did you brake? I'm like, I didn't brake at all. Yeah, no, I'm a man. Like, yep, no,
That's a liar.
this is, see, he still thinks that I'm lying. I didn't break once. So that's one of the highlights. It's like, yipper, still got it, still out there. So that, that is, Luke,
Your cart was probably different. It probably
right. This is what the young male will tend to do.
They gave you the old man cart.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly the reason. And the same thing happens. Same thing happens on the basketball court. Same thing happens on the pickleball court. You probably have a better paddle. Yeah. Okay. So same thing happens. Like, so Luke was wondering earlier why Mary Jo loves to hang out with me so much. There's these sub-man expressions like manliness that you don't find, in men today. And so that's one of the reasons she loves hanging out with me, is because there's a generation that somehow, probably the energy drinks, or I don't know what it is, like the internet or something, has stolen that from the younger generation. And so that's one of the reasons she hangs with me. So Ben, does that help you in understanding your dad better or not so much?
Yes and no. I don't know. I mean, I got questions. I can clarify more. I like understand parts of you, but other parts that always confused me.
Luke, this is another reason Mary Jo loves hanging out with me. Like it was interesting. We went ahead and we did a marriage podcast yesterday. It was just Roseanne and I and Mary Jo. And I was curious, and I asked Mary Jo, 1 to 10, how would you rate? You guys should watch that podcast. Classic. I'm telling you, holy cow, was it? It was cute. It was amazing. So, anyways, so I asked Mary Jo, 1 to 10, how would you rate, our marriage, Roseanne and I's base? So she comes over, she works from home. She has her own company. We're helping her start her own EVA and LP company. But she comes over to our place 3 times a week. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And she works, she has her desk down at down at the riverfront level with Rosanna. So she gets to see us, interact with us. And I say, so 1 to 10, how would you rate our marriage? And she pauses for way too long. And then she goes ahead and she says a 9. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, why? And I forget the word. Something she says, she says, I said, why? She says, I find your relationship to be very interesting and intriguing. I asked her why, and she didn't have a good answer. So she's thinking about that. But then I said, so this was classic. This is where, I'm glad the video was on. And so she's downstairs at her desk and Rosanna's at her desk, kind of in the same room. And I say, so did you notice any disruption in our marriage and our energy in the last 2 weeks? And I'm telling you, she's like, she's looking at Rosanna. I'm like, you got to be kidding. You got to be joking. You can't make this stuff up. I'm like, really? Like, it's like, wow. Anyways, so that's another reason, Luke, that Mary Jo loves hanging around is what Ben said. So the reason Ben's having a hard time figuring out his dad is because his dad is changing like every day. So it's like there's continued movement. It's like continued, like he's shifting. And so he can't get a read on me, even though he's my son. And so women adore this, Luke. They hate it, but they love it. They don't like it, but they love it. Like it's just like there was this other young lady. Oh, does she love hanging around me too? And she's going to vacation with her family in Florida. And I asked her, I said, hey, could I come there and visit you while you're on vacation? She's like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I said, so I could come and visit you? She's like, yeah, no, totally. Like on the island oh yeah, no, you're welcome. I'm like, so, but your ex-boyfriend can't? He can't even come to the state? And she gets red, and then she gets all blushy, and she's like, how do you know all of this stuff? And so Ben, yeah, go ahead and give a little more details there, buddy.
So one of the big parts I remember in Tennessee was after go-karting.
Okay.
It seemed like you were upset, and
Okay.
I was really confused on why you were upset, and I felt like I did something wrong.
Okay.
And then there's been a few times where it's like I feel like I'm
Did
doing
we ever
something
get that straightened out or not?
I understood why you were upset.
Why was I
Because
upset? Remind me. Did you surmise this, or did you actually ask me and I actually told you why I was upset?
I think a mix of both, I guess.
Okay. I'm sure this is very accurate. Go ahead.
You were stressed out about something with work and someone being annoying and not following through.
Yeah, that's unusual for me. I can't handle those type of things. That would really mess up my whole vacation.
And so it was like right after, and it was on the ride home.
So I was
And then
really upset or frustrated with somebody at work, or was it your mother?
I don't know who.
Because if
It
it's
was
somebody at
someone.
work, that's just normal, like that's just life. But if it's your mother, yeah, that can. Kenny experienced that when we were on our Texas trip. He experienced some interaction between Roseanne and I. That was not anything close to 2 weeks ago. Like, I don't know if it's too soon yet, but 2 weeks ago, whoa, like, whoa, he was exposed to stuff Ben's never been exposed to. If Ben was
So
exposed to that, it would be like, Ben would be like, holy cow. Anyways, so I'm
when
a
I feel
little
like
confused,
some,
Ben. Go ahead.
when I feel like something's wrong between us, I usually ask,
Yeah.
and then you say there's nothing, but I feel like there. Why do I feel like there's something that I'm doing wrong,
Right.
or that I did wrong, or
It might be
that,
what they call a guilty conscience.
that's the theory. But I feel like you built that into me since I was a child.
What's that? Having a conscience? No, that's something God gives you.
Um,
Now, there's this favorite
So
saying that you used to say to all the time
just
that
so
said,
Luke, I want
"You have something to tell me."
I just want to point something out to Luke. Luke, I know you're not practicing now. You should be, but you're not. So if Mary Jo or any women were on, they would be drawn to Kenny, not to you, Luke.
Yeah, Luke.
Understandable.
But you might want to practice this stuff because I don't think you're as good at it as you think you are.
All right.
So, anyways, sorry. Go ahead, Rosanna. You were saying something for Ben. Oh,
I
sorry.
said
We
that
got to
you
go to
used
the
to
next
say to the
segment.
kids all the
Got to go
time.
next segment. Got to go next segment. Here we go. You think this was good? Wait until the next one. Oh my God.